The vast emptiness of space lit up with explosions. Earth's defense fleet, once proud and strong, now lay in ruins. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of humanity's last functioning carrier, her face grim. The aliens, with their advanced technology and ruthless tactics, were winning. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Lieutenant Rodriguez, his uniform torn and face smeared with soot, looked up from his console. "It's bad, Admiral. We've lost 70% of our ships. The moon base is gone. Mars colony isn't responding." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself a brief second of despair before snapping back to attention. Humanity had been caught off guard when the Zarkan, a warrior race from a distant galaxy, appeared in Earth's solar system 6 months ago. Their demand was simple: surrender or be destroyed. Of course, Earth refused. Humans had faced challenges before, survived world wars and natural disasters. Surely, they could handle an alien invasion. How wrong they were. The Zarkan's first attack wiped out half of Earth's satellite network. Their second decimated the International Space Station. By the third wave, Earth's nations finally put aside their differences to present a united front. But it was too little, too late. "Admiral," a young ensign called out, her voice shaking. "We're receiving a transmission from the Zarkan flagship." Sarah nodded, steeling herself. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the alien commander. General Vexicor was an imposing figure, his scaly skin a deep purple, 4 yellow eyes glaring at the humans with disdain. "Pathetic creatures," Vexicor's translated voice boomed through the speakers. "Your resistance is as futile as it is amusing. Surrender now, and we may allow some of your species to live as our slaves." Sarah stood tall, meeting the alien's gaze. "Humanity will never surrender, Vexicor. We'll fight until our last breath." The alien general laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down the crew's spines. "Your bravery is misplaced, human. Look around you. Your fleet is in shambles, your defenses crumbling. What hope do you have?" Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted, "Incoming." Massive energy signature detected. The view screen shifted to show a colossal Zarkan warship, easily 10 times the size of Earth's largest vessel. It moved into position, a ball of energy forming at its bow. "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah ordered, but she knew it was hopeless. Their ship was too damaged, too slow. The Zarkan weapon fired. A blinding beam of energy lanced out, slicing through what remained of Earth's fleet like paper. Ships exploded left and right, their crews having no time even to scream. On the bridge of Sarah's carrier, systems failed one by one. The lights flickered, gravity wavered, and the hull groaned under the strain. "Admiral," Rodriguez said softly, "it's been an honor serving with you." Sarah nodded, a lump in her throat. She thought of her family back on Earth, of all the families about to face the wrath of the Zarkan. Had humanity's time truly come to an end? As the ship began to break apart around them, Sarah's mind raced. There had to be something they missed, some weakness in the aliens' defenses they hadn't exploited. Humanity couldn't go out like this, not without a fight. In her final moments, as the vacuum of space reached for her, Sarah made a silent vow. If by some miracle she survived this, she would find a way to turn the tide. Humanity's story couldn't end here. The carrier exploded, adding one more fireball to the graveyard of ships floating in Earth's orbit. On the planet below, people watched the sky with terrified eyes, knowing that their last line of defense had fallen. General Vexicor observed the destruction with satisfaction. "Prepare the invasion force," he commanded his subordinates. "It's time to claim our prize." As the Zarkan fleet moved towards Earth, no one noticed a small escape pod jettisoning from the wreckage of Sarah's carrier, its lone occupant unconscious but alive. Sometimes, hope comes in the smallest packages, and humanity's greatest victory might just rise from the ashes of its most devastating defeat. 3 months after the devastating attack on Earth's fleet, the situation seemed hopeless. The Zarkhan had established bases on the Moon and Mars, using them to launch relentless assaults on Earth's remaining defenses. Cities lay in ruins, and millions had perished. But in a hidden underground base in the Rocky Mountains, a small group of survivors refused to give up. Among them was Admiral Sarah Chen, rescued from her escape pod by a team of special forces. Her near-death experience had changed her, igniting a fierce determination to find a way to defeat the aliens. "We can't keep fighting like this," Sarah said, addressing the ragtag group of soldiers, scientists, and civilians gathered in the base's main hall. "We need to change our strategy." Dr. Emily Tanaka, a brilliant physicist, stepped forward. "I think I might have something," she said, her eyes bright with excitement despite the dark circles underneath them. "We've been studying the debris from the alien ships. There's a pattern in their energy signatures that we might be able to exploit." As Emily explained her findings, a plan began to form in Sarah's mind. It was risky, perhaps even suicidal, but it was the best chance they had. "We're going to steal an alien ship," Sarah announced, her voice filled with conviction. The room erupted in murmurs of disbelief and skepticism. Captain Mike Torres, a battle-hardened soldier, voiced what everyone was thinking. "With all due respect, Admiral, that's impossible. Their security is impenetrable." Sarah smiled, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "Impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet, and we're about to do it." Over the next few weeks, the base buzzed with activity. Emily and her team worked tirelessly to develop a device that could mimic Zarkhan energy signatures. Meanwhile, Sarah and Mike trained a small squad for the mission. The day of the operation arrived all too soon. Under the cover of darkness, Sarah led her team towards a Zarkhan outpost in what used to be Denver. Their secret weapon, a group of captured Zarkhan communication devices, reprogrammed by Emily to emit false signals. As they approached the alien perimeter, Sarah activated the devices. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, miraculously, the force field flickered and died. "It worked," Sarah whispered, hardly daring to believe it. "Move in, quickly and quietly." The team slipped into the alien base, their hearts pounding. They encountered a few Zarkhan guards, but thanks to Emily's inventions and the element of surprise, they managed to subdue them without raising an alarm. Finally, they reached their target, a small Zarkhan scout ship. As they boarded the vessel, Sarah felt a surge of hope. For the first time since the invasion began, they had a real chance. But their luck couldn't last forever. Just as Mike was figuring out the alien controls, alarms blared throughout the base. "We've been made," shouted one of the soldiers. "They're coming." Sarah made a split-second decision. "Mike, get us out of here. Everyone else, battle stations." The ship lurched as Mike activated the engines. Outside, they could see Zarkhan soldiers rushing towards them, energy weapons blazing. "Hold on," Mike yelled as he punched the throttle. The scout ship shot into the sky, shaking violently as it broke through the atmosphere. For several nerve-wracking minutes, they thought they had escaped. Then, larger ships appeared on their radar, giving chase. "We can't outrun them," Mike said grimly. But Sarah wasn't ready to give up. "We don't need to outrun them. We just need to reach the rendezvous point." As if on cue, a massive storm of meteorites appeared, surrounding their ship. The Zarkhan pursuers, caught off guard, had to break off their attack to avoid collision. Sarah grinned. It wasn't meteorites at all, but a cloud of space debris, carefully positioned by their allies using stolen Zarkhan tractor beams. It was a trick the aliens never saw coming. As they flew to safety, Sarah looked at her team's jubilant faces. This victory, small as it was, had reignited the spark of hope. Humanity had proven that the Zarkhan weren't invincible after all. For the first time since the invasion, Sarah allowed herself to believe that they might actually win this war. The real fight was just beginning. The stolen Zarkin scout ship, now named Hope's Dawn, became humanity's secret weapon. Hidden in an asteroid belt, Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to understand the alien technology. Each day brought new discoveries and challenges. Dr. Emily Tanaka wiped sweat from her brow as she examined the ship's engine. "It's amazing," she said, her eyes wide with wonder. "Their power source is unlike anything we've ever seen." Sarah nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "Can we replicate it?" Emily hesitated. "Maybe, but it'll take time." Time was something they didn't have much of. On Earth, the situation grew worse by the day. The Zarkan tightened their grip, forcing humans into labor camps and stripping the planet of its resources. But resistance groups, inspired by the stolen ship, began to form. They communicated using old radio technologies, which the aliens often overlooked. Sarah's team became a beacon of hope, coordinating attacks and sharing information. One day, as Sarah pored over Zarkin's star charts, Captain Mike Torres burst into the room. "Admiral, we've intercepted a Zarkin transmission. They're planning something big." The message revealed a terrifying truth. The Zarkan were building a massive weapon capable of destroying entire continents. They planned to use it to force Earth's final surrender. Sarah's face hardened. "We need to stop them. It's time to take the fight to their doorstep." Using the scout ship's advanced sensors, they located the Zarkin's main base on the far side of the moon. It was heavily guarded, a fortress of alien technology. "It's suicide," Mike said, shaking his head. "We can't possibly break through their defenses." But Sarah had a plan. "We won't break through. We'll slip right past them." Over the next week, they modified the scout ship, adding stealth technology based on their studies of Zarkin cloaking devices. It wasn't perfect, but it might just be enough. As they prepared for the mission, Sarah addressed her team. "This is our chance to turn the tide. If we succeed, we'll save Earth. If we fail—" She paused, looking each person in the eye. "Well, let's not fail." The journey to the moon was tense. Every moment, they expected to be discovered. But their makeshift cloaking held. As they approached the Zarkin base, they saw it in all its terrifying glory. Massive ships docked at orbital stations, and strange energy beams crisscrossed the lunar surface. There, Emily pointed at a large structure near the center of the base. "That has to be where they're building the weapon." Sarah nodded. "Take us in, Mike. Nice and easy." They landed in a small crater near the facility, their hearts pounding. As they prepared to leave the ship, Sarah looked at her team. "Remember, we're not here to fight. Get in, plant the bombs, and get out." They stepped onto the lunar surface, their modified suits protecting them from detection. Moving slowly to avoid kicking up dust, they approached the facility. Inside, they found a massive chamber filled with strange machinery. At its center stood a device that pulsed with ominous energy. "That's it," Emily whispered. "The Continental Destroyer." As they planted explosive charges around the device, alarms suddenly blared. They'd been discovered. "Move," Sarah shouted. "Back to the ship." They ran, dodging energy blasts from Zarkin guards. Mike was hit in the leg, but kept going, supported by his teammates. Just as they reached their ship, a massive explosion rocked the base. Their charges had detonated early, triggered by the facility's security systems. "Get us out of here," Sarah ordered as they scrambled aboard. As they lifted off, they saw the Zarkin base crumbling. The weapon was destroyed, and with it, the aliens' plans for total domination. But their victory came at a cost. Their ship, damaged in the escape, was losing power fast. As they hurtled towards Earth, systems failing around them, Sarah realized their mission might have been a one-way trip. Yet, looking at the blue planet growing larger in their viewport, she felt no regret. They had given Earth a fighting chance. Now, it was up to those left behind to seize this opportunity and push back against the invaders. As they began their fiery descent into Earth's atmosphere, Sarah closed her eyes and hoped their sacrifice would not be in vain. The battle for humanity's future was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion, the scales were beginning to tip in their favor. The damaged scout ship streaked across the sky, a ball of fire descending towards Earth. Inside, Sarah and her team fought to keep the craft from breaking apart. "We're coming in too hot," Mike yelled, his hands flying over the alien controls. Emily's voice was tight with concentration, redirecting power to shields. "It's our only chance." As they plummeted through the atmosphere, the ship shuddered violently. Just when it seemed they would burn up, a crackling voice came over the radio. "Unknown craft, this is Eagle Base. We've got you on radar. Hang tight." Suddenly, a massive net of energy appeared below them, created by technology reverse-engineered from Zarkan devices. It caught the falling ship, slowing its descent. They crashed hard, but they were alive. As Sarah stumbled out of the wreckage, she saw a group of soldiers approaching, led by a face she never expected to see again. General David Martinez, her old mentor. "Welcome back to Earth, Admiral," he said with a grim smile. "Things have changed while you were gone." Over the next few days, Sarah and her team learned the extent of those changes. The destruction of the Zarkan's superweapon had thrown the aliens into disarray. Humanity, seizing this rare opportunity, had launched a series of coordinated attacks across the globe. "We've taken back several major cities," General Martinez explained during a strategy meeting. "But the Zarkan are regrouping. They're angry and they're scared. That makes them more dangerous than ever." Sarah nodded, studying the holographic map before her. "We need to press our advantage. Hit them hard before they can recover." The room buzzed with energy as they planned their next move. Emily shared the technological insights they'd gained from the scout ship, while Mike detailed the weaknesses they'd observed in Zarkan defenses. As the meeting concluded, a young lieutenant burst into the room. "Sir, ma'am, we're picking up a transmission. It's broadcasting on all frequencies." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the face of the Zarkan leader, Supreme Commander Zexcro. His usual arrogance was replaced by barely contained rage. "Humans," he snarled, "you have proven to be more resilient than we anticipated. But do not mistake this small victory for a change in the tide of war. We offer you one last chance to surrender. Refuse, and we will unleash a force upon your world that will make our previous attacks seem merciful." The transmission cut off, leaving the room in stunned silence. General Martinez was the first to speak. "It's a bluff. They're desperate." But Sarah wasn't so sure. She'd seen the extent of Zarkan technology. "We can't take that chance. We need to find out what they're planning." Over the next week, humanity's resurgence continued. More cities were liberated, and for the first time, Zarkan ships were being shot down by Earth's defenses. But the alien threat loomed over every victory. Sarah worked tirelessly, coordinating attacks and analyzing intelligence. She barely slept, driven by the need to uncover the Zarkan's secret plan. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a skirmish in what used to be London, a human squad captured a high-ranking Zarkan officer. Under interrogation, he revealed a chilling truth. Sarah called an emergency meeting to share the news. "The Zarkan are bringing in a planet killer," she announced to the shocked room. "A ship capable of cracking Earth's crust. It'll be here in less than 72 hours. The silence that followed was deafening. The fate of the entire world now hung in the balance. But Sarah wasn't done. Her eyes gleamed with determination as she continued. "But now we know it's coming. And thanks to what we've learned, we have a chance to stop it." She laid out her plan, a daring operation that would take every resource they had. It was risky, with a high chance of failure. But as she looked around the room, she saw not defeat, but resolve. General Martinez stood up. "Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the Admiral. We've got a planet to save. Let's get to work." As the room erupted into action, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and despite the odds, she had faith in humanity's strength. The Zarkan were about to learn that underestimating humans was the biggest mistake they'd ever made. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of activity. Every able-bodied person on Earth worked tirelessly to prepare for the coming battle. Sarah's plan was audacious, combining human ingenuity with reverse-engineered Zarkan technology. In orbit, a fleet of hastily assembled ships waited. They were a motley crew, everything from retrofitted passenger planes to experimental spacecraft. On the ground, powerful energy cannons, built using the principles of Zarkan weapons, were aimed at the sky. Sarah stood in the command center, her eyes fixed on the large screen showing Earth's orbital space. Beside her, Emily fiddled nervously with a device they called the Disruptor, humanity's secret weapon. Any sign of them? Sarah asked, her voice tense. General Martinez shook his head. Nothing yet, but they'll be here. As if on cue, alarms blared. A massive ship, easily dwarfing anything humanity had ever built, blinked into existence just beyond the moon's orbit. That's it, Sarah breathed. The planet killer. The Zarkan ship was a terrifying sight. Its hull bristled with weapons, and at its center, a massive cannon glowed with ominous energy. Supreme Commander Zexcro's face appeared on the screen. Humans, he sneered, behold your doom. Surrender now, or watch your world crumble. Sarah stepped forward, her face set in determination. We will never surrender. Earth is our home, and we'll defend it to our last breath. Zexcro's eyes narrowed. So be it. The battle began in earnest. The planet killer launched waves of fighter ships, which engaged with Earth's defenders in a deadly dance among the stars. On the ground, Sarah coordinated the defense. Group A, focus fire on the fighter ships. Group B, target the planet killer's weapon systems. We need to buy time. The sky lit up with explosions as human and Zarkan ships clashed. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the human pilots fought with incredible skill and bravery. But the planet killer was still advancing. Its main cannon began to glow brighter, preparing to fire. Admiral, Mike's voice crackled over the comm. We can't hold them off much longer. Sarah knew it was time. Emily, are we in range? The scientist nodded, her face pale but determined. Just barely. But Sarah, if this doesn't work. It'll work, Sarah said firmly. It has to. Activate the disruptor. Emily flipped a switch on her device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a wave of invisible energy pulsed out from Earth. In space, the effect was immediate. Zarkan ships began to falter, their systems disrupted by the strange energy. The planet killer itself shuddered, its cannon powering down. It's working, Emily exclaimed. Their tech is failing. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. All units, this is our chance. Attack with everything we've got. Earth's defenders surged forward. Without their advanced technology, the Zarkan found themselves outmatched by human determination and adaptability. But the battle was far from over. The planet killer, though crippled, was still a formidable opponent. Its bulk alone made it a dangerous threat as it drifted towards Earth, pulled in by gravity. We need to destroy it before it enters the atmosphere, General Martinez warned. Sarah nodded grimly. Prepare the mass driver. The mass driver was a massive electromagnetic cannon, built in secret using scavenged Zarkan parts. It was their last resort, capable of launching a projectile at incredible speeds. As the planet killer drew closer, Sarah gave the order. Fire. The mass driver roared to life, launching a specially designed projectile directly at the alien ship's core. The impact was catastrophic. The planet killer broke apart, its pieces burning up in Earth's atmosphere like a deadly meteor shower. In the command center, a cheer went up, but Sarah's eyes remained fixed on the screen, watching for any sign of Zarkan survivors. Finally, after what seemed like hours, General Martinez turned to her. "Admiral, I think we've won." Sarah let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had defeated the Zarkan's ultimate weapon. But as the celebrations began around her, Sarah knew that this was only the beginning. The Zarkan threat was not over, and Earth had a long road to recovery ahead. Still, for the first time since the invasion began, she allowed herself to feel real hope. Humanity had proven its strength, and together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the days following the destruction of the planet killer, Earth buzzed with a mixture of celebration and tension. The victory had been decisive, but the war was far from over. Zarkan forces still held significant territory on Earth and throughout the solar system. Sarah stood before the United Earth Council, a newly formed body of leaders from around the world. The room was packed with representatives from every nation, all eyes fixed on her. "The Zarkan are weakened, but not defeated," Sarah began, her voice steady. "We've proven that we can fight them. Now we need to push them off our planet for good." She outlined her plan, a series of coordinated global strikes against key Zarkan strongholds. It was risky, but with the aliens' technology still disrupted by Emily's device, they had a fighting chance. As the council debated, an aide rushed in with urgent news. "Admiral," he said, handing Sarah a tablet, "we're picking up strange signals from Mars." Sarah's eyes widened as she read the report. "It's not the Zarkan," she announced to the puzzled council. "It's us. The Mars colony is still alive." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. The Mars colony had been presumed destroyed in the early days of the invasion. Its survival changed everything. "We need to help them," Sarah declared. "And in doing so, we might just find the key to ending this war once and for all." The next weeks were a flurry of activity. While Earth's forces engaged the Zarkan in a series of fierce battles, Sarah led a small team on a daring mission to Mars. They used a ship cobbled together from Zarkan and human technology, slipping past the alien defenses using Emily's improved cloaking device. As they approached the red planet, Sarah held her breath. The surface looked dead and barren, but as they neared the coordinates of the old colony, they saw it, a dome hidden in a deep crater, showing signs of life. They landed nearby and made their way to the entrance. Sarah's heart pounded as the airlock cycled open. Inside, they were met by a group of haggard but determined-looking colonists, led by a familiar face, Dr. James Wong, the colony's chief scientist. "Admiral Chen," he said, his voice filled with disbelief and hope. "We thought Earth had fallen." Sarah smiled. "Earth endures, Dr. Wong. And it looks like Mars does too. But we need your help." Over the next few hours, James explained how the colony had survived. They had detected the Zarkan invasion early and gone into deep lockdown, using experimental camouflage technology to hide from alien scans. But more importantly, they had made a crucial discovery. "The Zarkan have been to Mars before," James revealed, showing them ancient alien artifacts they had uncovered long ago. And they left something behind, a weakness in their genetic makeup, tied to the Martian environment. Sarah's mind raced with the possibilities. "Can we use this against them?" James nodded. "We've been working on a bioweapon, something that could incapacitate the Zarkan without harming humans, but we lack the resources to produce it at scale." "That's where we come in," Sarah said, a plan already forming in her mind. They worked tirelessly, combining the Mars colony's research with Earth's resources and Emily's technical expertise. The result was a revolutionary aerosol weapon that targeted the Zarkan's unique biology. As they prepared to return to Earth, Sarah received an urgent message from General Martinez. The Zarkan, desperate after their recent losses, were massing for a final, all-out attack on humanity's main cities. "We need to move fast," Sarah told her team. "Everything depends on us getting this weapon back to Earth in time." They blasted off from Mars, pushing their hybrid ship to its limits. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, They could see flashes of light in the planet's atmosphere. The battle had already begun. Sarah gripped her seat, willing the ship to go faster. They were carrying humanity's best hope for victory, and she was determined to see it delivered. The fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders, and Sarah swore she wouldn't let either of them down. As they began their descent towards the embattled planet, Sarah steeled herself for the decisive battle to come. Win or lose, the war for Earth would end today. The ship carrying Sarah and her team plunged through Earth's atmosphere, dodging debris and energy blasts from the raging battle below. The Zarkan's final assault had turned the sky into a war zone. "Hang on," Mike shouted from the pilot's seat, banking hard to avoid a falling alien fighter. Sarah clutched the canister containing the bioweapon, her knuckles white. Everything depended on getting this to Earth's defenders in time. As they neared the ground, Sarah saw the full extent of the battle. Major cities around the world were under attack. In New York, the Statue of Liberty's torch blazed with defensive energy beams. In Cairo, pyramids of force fields protected ancient monuments. Everywhere, humans fought with desperate courage against the alien onslaught. They landed at the primary command center, a fortified bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. General Martinez met them at the entrance, his uniform singed and torn. "Admiral," he said, relief evident in his voice, "please tell me you have good news." Sarah held up the canister. "We have our secret weapon, but we need to distribute it globally. Fast." The general nodded grimly. "We've been saving something for just such an occasion." He led them to a massive room filled with sleek, silver devices. "Atmosphere processors," he explained, "originally designed to combat climate change. We've modified them to release your bioweapon into the air." "Perfect," Sarah said. "Let's do this." As Emily and Dr. Wong worked to integrate the bioweapon with the processors, Sarah coordinated with defense forces worldwide. The plan was simple but dangerous. They needed to draw the Zarkan into Earth's atmosphere. "All units," Sarah broadcasted, "fall back to defensive positions around the processors. Let the Zarkan think they're winning. Lure them in close." Around the world, human forces began a strategic retreat. The Zarkan, sensing victory, pressed their advantage, sending more ships into the lower atmosphere. In the command center, Sarah watched the tactical display with growing tension. "Not yet," she muttered as alien ships descended. "Not yet." Finally, when it seemed the Zarkan might overwhelm Earth's defenses, Sarah gave the order. "Now, activate the processors." Across the globe, the modified atmosphere processors roared to life. A fine mist began to spread through the air, invisible to the naked eye, but deadly to the Zarkan. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the tide began to turn. Zarkan ships started to falter, their pilots disoriented. Alien ground troops stumbled, dropping their weapons. "It's working," Emily exclaimed, watching the data stream in. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "All units, press the attack. Push them back." Human forces surged forward, reclaiming lost ground. The Zarkan, their advantage suddenly lost, began a chaotic retreat. In orbit, the massive Zarkan command ships tried to regroup, but it was too late. Earth's combined fleet, bolstered by ships from the Mars colony, engaged them in a final decisive battle. Hours passed in a blur of conflict. Sarah coordinated the global defense from the command center, pushing herself to the limit. Finally, as dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains, the last Zarkan ship fled Earth's orbit. A stunned silence fell over the command center, broken only by the beeping of consoles. Then, reports started flooding in from around the world. New York is secure. Beijing reporting victory. London stands free. General Martinez turned to Sarah, tears in his eyes. "Admiral, we've won. Earth is ours again." The realization washed over Sarah. They had done it. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted worldwide. People poured into streets, hugging strangers and weeping with joy. The long nightmare was over. But Sarah knew their work was far from finished. Earth lay in ruins, its population decimated. The Zarkan, though defeated, were still out there among the stars. Looking out at the sunrise painting the sky in hues of hope, Sarah made a silent vow. They would rebuild, stronger than ever. And next time, humanity wouldn't just defend Earth. They would take the fight to the stars. For the first time in years, Sarah allowed herself to truly smile. Humanity's greatest weakness had become its greatest strength, the unbreakable spirit that refused to give up, no matter the odds. And with that spirit, there was no challenge they couldn't overcome. The dawn of a new era had begun, and humanity was ready to face it head-on.